Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in once again to Queen Ahmadiyyah TV presents The Root of All Evil. Okay, so as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure you click the notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Queen Ahmadiyyah, also on Instagram at divine_goddess_27, Brighton and Patreon and Melanated People at Queen Ahmadiyyah, and Twitter at dgoddess27. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, this is a nefarious story about a dentist by the name of Dr. John Yelenick, who was murdered. Now, his wife, Michelle, she stood to benefit from the life insurance policy, which was worth of $1 million. And there was the guy she was dating who was a state trooper. Now, Kevin Foley was his name. And he was upset at the divorce settlement because, you see, Michelle, his girlfriend, whom he lived with, she stood to lose $2,500 per month and child support. So let's get into it. So in 2007, a boy in rural Pennsylvania stumbled upon a grisly sight at his neighbor's home. Now, peering through the front door, the child saw the corpse of his 39-year-old neighbor, Dr. John Yelenick, a well-known and liked dentist in the local area. Bloody, barefoot, footprints and motionless, there he lay. Bloody, lying barefoot and motionless, according to the criminal complaint that was filed. Yelenick had been killed, sliced, and stabbed several times. He died in a pool of his own blood right in his very living room. Now, this was aired also on Oxygen. It was called A Killer Affair, I do believe. Now, there was strong circumstantial evidence against Yelenick's ex-wife's lover, his ex-wife's lover, Kevin Foley, who was a state trooper. Police found a series of bloody footprints in Yelenick's house that matched Foley's shoes. And the state trooper, you see, he was bitter because Yelenick had a heated divorce proceeding with his girlfriend. He had openly wished death upon the dentist in the presence of law enforcement colleagues. I guess he thought he could do that because he was an officer himself. So he literally wished death on this man. Now, the trooper, a knife collector and a fanatic, also reportedly walked around his office flipping a blade open and closed, according to the true crime book, Dying for Love, written by Carlton Smith. Now, most importantly is DNA. This is what prosecutors said. The fraction of genetic material largely turned out to be Foley's very undoing. That's why he got caught. And it helped to launch then obscure DNA technology to the forefront of criminal investigations in the U.S. Because prior to this case, they weren't really using DNA evidence. Now, at the time of the murder and prior to Foley's conviction, local police had no suspects. They had no witnesses and no clues. Now, on the show that aired on Oxygen, Killer Affair, people who knew Yelenick said that they couldn't imagine anyone having a grudge against him. He was so nice and easygoing and always there to lend a helping hand. The neighbors reported hearing, however, on that night, they report hearing blood-curdling screams like pig squeals hours earlier, but they never alerted the authorities. This is according to complaints. Now, in the course of their investigation, police learned of Yelenick's troubled marriage and the acrimonious divorce, but they ruled out the wealthy dentist's wife, Michelle, as a suspect. Michelle had long denied killing her former spouse, despite standing to cash in on the dead dentist's life insurance policy, which exceeded $1 million. Now, authorities discovered two distinct DNA profiles at the murder scene. 93% of that material, which was mostly blood, belonged to Yelenick. The rest, police surmised, was the killer's DNA and blood. Now, an initial FBI analysis of the fraction of DNA pointed to Foley, the state trooper, linking him to the slaying with a match of statistics of 13,000, meaning that the chance that a random person would be included in that mixture was 1 in 13,000. So, but at the time, prosecutors were concerned that probability wasn't high enough, not at least to secure conviction against Foley, who claimed that he had been playing hockey at the time of the murder. They say when there's 13 million people in Pennsylvania at the time, it's not persuasive evidence. This is what Pennsylvania scientist Mark Perlin, who designed True Allele, this is what he said: a complex statistical computing method for analyzing and interpreting DNA mixtures. That was True Allele, which he designed it. Now, the prosecutors used this for the first time in history to convict Foley. The prosecutor said, the prosecutor really didn't have much evidence. This is what Perlin told Oxygen. He said they had some video, but he had a footprint, and his main DNA evidence was under the fingernails of Dr. Jelinek. Now, while the FBI genetic analysis showed that a match of statistics of 13,000, Perlin's emerging technology pushed that number into the billions. So pretty much it was 100% Foley, right? The chances of it being someone else was in the billions. So after Pennsylvania Attorney General Anthony Krastek enlisted the DNA technologist's help, Perlin's forensic analysis company called Cybergenetics, well, they matched Foley's genetic profile to the blood found at Jelinek's home, to which the match statistic was 189 billion. Now, at the time, Perlin said that his work was unprecedented. Computer technology lacked the sophistication and statistical algorithms to analyze DNA evidence that included the genetic material of more than one person, as the case with Jelinek's murder. Now, he said it's a computer approach to interpreting complex DNA evidence. This is what the 62-year-old Pittsburgh scientist explained. DNA analysis was previously carried out manually by technologists poring over data. Conversely, True Allele eliminated human intuition. The Foley case was the dawn of DNA computing. Now, but still, Foley's defense attorneys tried to discredit the DNA evidence as novel science, right? So despite prosecutors presenting several reputable scientific journals that had published Perlin's work in an evidence admissibility hearing, so they brought forth all of his scholarly work in journals and everything to convince the jury that he knew what he was doing and he was in fact an expert. Now, the judge then ultimately admitted True Allele's findings, which paved the way for Foley's conviction. And this was a statewide precedent that was set. Now, they say his technique had never been used before in a courtroom or an investigative setting. So that was a challenge, according to former Attorney General Anthony Krastek. He said it was very persuasive. It absolutely helped the case. It was Dr. Perlin who tipped the scales. The fact that there was a DNA match was absolutely huge. He made clear to me the threshold used by the FBI and every other DNA lab were arbitrary. They were not scientifically based, and that's what resonated with me. Now, following Foley's conviction, Perlin's computing method became a standard at hundreds of crime labs, and this is according to local NBC affiliate WPXI. Cybergenetics has consulted on nearly 1,000 cases and secured convictions for hundreds of criminals, including nearly a dozen exonerations of those who were wrongly convicted. And let me tell you something, between the years of 1976 to 2009, I believe it was, there were so many people convicted, wrongfully convicted. And so DNA evidence helped to get at least 204 of those people off, okay, because of DNA evidence. Now, they say it's changed the whole dynamic of trials and investigations. This is what the now retired career prosecutor says. He says it's believed, or it's being used all across the country. It's being used internationally in just a few short years. It isn't who has the smoothest talking lawyer anymore. It's at least in cases where the science, or at least not in cases where the science is available. Now, Foley was sentenced to life without parole in 2009. So with that all being said, let me tell you something. If it had not been for his DNA evidence being underneath Dr. Jelinek's fingers or his fingernails, he would likely never have been caught because they couldn't think of anyone who had a grudge against him. However, law enforcement had heard, Foley threatening this man and wishing death on him. But of course, we know law enforcement doesn't go out and tell on each other, right? They usually cover things up and sweep them under the rug. He was only caught because of the DNA evidence. And like I said, the reason that he was motivated to do this is because his girlfriend Michelle Yelenick, who was Dr. Yelenick's ex-wife. Well, Foley was living with her, and he was quite ticked off when she was, supposed to stop getting that $2,500 every month after the divorce settlement. He didn't like that at all. And also, his other motive to kill Dr. Yelenick was because he knew that Michelle still was the beneficiary to the life insurance policy that was worth over $1 million. So that was truly done for the root of all evil, right? The love of money. If the perpetrator was Black, it wouldn't have been novel science. Likely, right? Okay. Wow, he reaches limits and he feels these demons got to get this business. Absolutely. So with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast, but stay tuned because I'm coming right back. And this next story is even more nefarious. Now, this happened in Gwinnett County, Georgia, a few years ago. And I remember when this happened. An officer who kills a woman for cash. We're going to talk about that, so stay tuned to Queen Ahmadiyyah TV presents The Root of All Evil. And also, please make sure you like and share this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Click the notification bell and click the word all so that you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. I hope to see you all in the next chat. Peace.